Good morning, everybody. I'm Larry Weushuhn. If you enjoy real-world hunting and fishing talk, you're really going to enjoy listening to my good friend, Luke Clayton, and his guest for the next hour.
This is David Fox, and welcome to Outdoors with Luke Clayton and Friends. Luke has been a recognized outdoors writer for the past 3 decades and writes for a host of outdoor publications. Luke pens a weekly newspaper outdoors column that appears in over 40 Texas newspapers. Luke is on the pro staff of Pyramid Air, your one-stop shop for everything airgun related. Smoking Tech's electric smokers and AGM Global Vision, maker of an awesome line of thermal hunting scopes and spotters. Feel free to contact Luke through his website, catfishradio.org. Now let's join Luke and his guests for this week's show.
Well, thank you guys for that nice introduction, as I do every week. And we do have Mr. Larry Weushuhn with us. Larry, thank you for being here, sir.
Luke, it is such a pleasure. You know, we're very fortunate in so many different ways. And we live in Texas. We get to hunt and fish in Texas. But we also deal with a lot of different companies here in Texas, such as Stealth Vision, that makes some really outstanding optics. Mossberg, which makes their rifles and shotguns here in Texas. Vineyard Max over in Northeast Texas, that makes the Vineyard Max attractive, but also all kinds of feeders. And then, of course, we have Hornady, accurate, deadly, dependable, and Taurus, that makes the Raging Hunters handguns, I should say, that I use. And of course, Dallas Safari Club, DSC, Conservation Education, Hunter Advocacy has been with us for a long, long time. And really, when you get right down to the best wildlife conservation hunting organization there is in the world. But one of the things I wanted to ask you about this morning, we've both spent a lot of time out in the outdoors. We've driven a fair amount out in the pastures, if you will. But what's the weirdest place you ever got stuck? And I'm going to tell you mine. Years ago, I worked for the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department. I was out in far west Texas, in just north of, we're around Andrews and Plains and Yoakum and Tarrant County, right there on the New Mexico borderline. And I was out there in a 4-wheel drive, a huge pickup, and I got stuck in the middle of the pavement going just north of they're close to Andrews in the sand. Can you imagine getting stuck with a 4-wheel drive pickup on a sand road that is got a solid base? I ran into a sand pile from a blasted sandstorm, and it took me hours to dig myself out of that thing.
Larry, I get it. I've been there more than one time. You know, people don't think about getting stuck in the sand, but yeah, sand is bad. I'd rather get stuck in the mud. Really, at least you can put a block under it and get out sometimes. Yeah, I've got a story I can tell you a little bit. If I can, I could take 2 hours telling this one, but you mentioned Andrews. Now, by golly, we're on the radio in Andrews out there.
Oh, that's right.
And I'm now from the Permian Basin to the Ozarks of Arkansas, we're Catfish Radio. But I want to take a minute to thank all of our radio stations. They saw fit to have our style of radio show on their stations every week, and I do thank them for that. As I always say, we're not a news show, but it's pretty informative. We have some folks on, well, like you. I mean, the knowledge that you've got on whitetail deer and other things that I know about that that's a treasure. And then all of our hunting and fishing buddies and that get on with us, you can learn a lot. But my goal has always been to make it entertaining. Don't make it like a news Paul Harvey type, keep it casual. And that's what we do. Sometimes maybe a little too casual, but it's still fun. So thank you, all the radio stations. And this does become a podcast. I have to keep that in mind. These 4 segments become a podcast. It's on iHeart, Apple, and Carbon TV is another place, carbontv.com. Click on podcast. It's there. So thanks to everybody. Now, I'm going to condense this real quick, and I'll see if I can do it without taking 2 hours, Larry. Yeah, I remember a time I got stuck. I really didn't get stuck. I was in a stuck truck. my brother-in-law and I decided we were going to float the Sabine River. We figured it up about 20 miles. This has been 25 years ago. We floated it in an old Lone Star boat, pretty good heavy boat for river floating, but we did it. Come out down at the end. The other brother-in-law is going to pick us up. You've heard this story. He wound up down the river at another bridge. We've got our wires crossed. There was an old boy that had about 65 with a truck that was about 110 years old. It was an old pickup. I don't even remember what kind it was, with two wild teenagers down there, about 18 to 19-year-old kids. They were having some fun, and the old fellow was kind of relaxed, if you know what I mean, by that time of the evening.
Sir.
He maybe had been sipping on a beverage or something down there. Anyway, here we come out, the brother-in-law and I. We're ready to meet the other brother-in-law that was 20 miles down the river in Carthage, Texas. He wasn't anywhere near there. So we sat around. There's no phone. This is back 25 years ago. No cell phones, nothing like that. And this old boy, I thought, man, we got to get out here. Our wives were wondering where we were. Well, it had been raining, and you had to drive down a pretty steep slope. No problem for a four-wheel drive, but that old Dodge with the 4 on the floor and a slant 225 slant 6 engine that the old guy had was not your off-road vehicle. It really wasn't, you know. So I finally talked him into letting me drive, right, you know. And he said, there's a store down there about 20 miles or whatever. So he convinced me he knew where there was a telephone. I got in that old thing, an old slant 6, you know, hot water 6 is what we used to call them. I put it in compound low, and he said, it'll crawl this hill, son. And just me and him in there. The boys had stayed back with the brother-in-law, you know, thank goodness.
Yes.
Anyway, I put it up there, and I started sliding up. Got about halfway up that hill, and that thing just slid down into a bog. And then we got the boys involved, and we got out. But that was a time that I spent stuck in the mud. But the whole aura around that thing with this guy, if we could have had it all filmed, Larry, it would have been the funniest video in the world. We finally did get it out and got it up the hill, made the phone call, called the wives, told them that we were alive. But yep, getting stuck's kind of part of it. I've got an older GMC, an 07 actually. Now I've had it for years, you know, the old pickup, and it's a four-wheel drive. I've never had that thing stuck. Knock on wood. So anyway, that was something. You know what, Larry? Next weekend, March the 1st.
Yes, sir.
You and I are going to be in Greenville, Texas, at the Outdoor Rendezvous, the 6th one, at the Top Rail Cowboy Church, and we want to invite folks to be with us, don't we?
We truly do. That is such a great event that you got started there, and it is so much fun. It's going to be outdoors, of course, and unless we have rain, and then they have got a huge, like a roping arena that we can go into, and so we're covered regardless whether there's rain, sleet, snow, you know, you name it, or beautiful weather. And we've been so fortunate in the years past to really have had some really nice weather, and be all kinds of food, booths. I mean, just Campfire, a good opportunity to sit down and visit with Luke and I and a whole bunch of other folks around the fire. And yeah, there's a few stories being told while we're there as well, too.
We've got some storytellers in that mix, I tell you.
Yes,
know that.
We do.
But, yeah, and to learn more about it, folks, if you're in North Texas, March the 1st, come on out there. It's about an hour east of Dallas on Interstate 30, the Top Rail Cowboy Church. All the details are on my radio website, catfishradio.org. You can go there. And Mr. James Carr is going to come on later. He's the Top Rail Cowboy Church. They have an outdoor ministry, which I think is an awesome idea.
Yes, sir.
And he's going to be on telling about some of the particulars that, you know, a lot of the people the vendors and all go through him, through James, to get this set up. But folks that are up in North Texas, March the 1st, it's not far from Dallas. Come on out, Larry. Be around the campfire with us. I'll be there, and Jeff Rice, our buddy's going to be with us filming a segment of our TV show, A Sportsman's Life, Larry, and that's always fun. You can go back and watch the one from last year that he put together. It's kind of fun,
It really is. And there'll be good food. I know that there'll be probably some fried fish, maybe.
Yeah,
bit of other stuff. And Clayton always somehow or another brings some cobblers. So I'm not going to tell you it's the best cobbler in the world, although it is, because I always try to save as much as I can for myself.
Hoarder.
So, but I'll let other people sample it while they're there.
Yeah, you're a cobbler hoarder. Did I tell you about the award that I got last week, Larry?
No, sir.
I got a major, the kind of award that means something to me. I had a reader, Glenn Miller. He's been reading my newspaper column, for 40 years. I've been writing it for 41, I think.
Right.
It runs in a bunch of newspapers. You know about it, but
yes, sir.
He tracked me down through the newspaper and called me, and he says, "Luke, I've been catching a lot of all the catfish we need for your rendezvous, and he's coming. Right. He'll be there." And he said, "How about coming out and fishing with me?" I said, "Sir, you don't know. Yeah, I'd love to fish with you, but to me that's a great honor for that." And he told me he enjoyed the column and all that. That meant a lot to me.
Right.
And so that's the great award. That to me that was an award. I was just tickled to death to get to meet him. So Jeff and I went out and fished with him. And Lake Fork is where we were, and that's over in northeast Texas, folks, if you're not familiar with Fork. It's a great catfish lake loaded with channel cat. We caught 100. There's 4 of us in all. Mr. Casey that owns the, what's it called, Angler's Paradise tackle store showed up, and Jeff and myself and Glenn. And so he was talking about catching some blue catfish, and Fork does have some blues, but not many people fish. Not many fish for them. They can be hard to catch because of drift fishing. There's so much structure. You stay hung up a lot unless you know what you're doing. Well, we dropped some soured grain down, Larry, and as usually is the case, for 20, 30 minutes, we just got 1 or 2 little bites. Then we caught fish for 2.5 hours nonstop. I'm telling you. And it was a different bite. We were using, he had a punch bait that he makes himself, on a number, we were using number 6 treble hook. And it was a weird bite. The water was pretty cold. You drop that bait down and just crank it just off the bottom, and you have to watch your line, and then sometimes you'd feel the slightest tap, but those fish would just suck in that bait in and not striking, not pulling the line.
Really?
Yeah, you'd just see the line twitch just a little, or maybe you'd feel something, and then we'd set the hook. But there is our catfish. We're going to cook all. I think Bill Carey with Striper Express on Texoma. He's at every event. And my nephew, Billy Kilpatrick, who's a retired guide, they're going to fry up a bunch of that. So I've got it in the freezer. It is ready. So be ready for not only cobbler, but some fried fish and probably some barbecue too, Larry.
Yeah, and I know the Dutch Oven Cooking Society is going to be there as well too. So my gracious.
It's going to be good. A couple of bands are going to be playing all day, out there creating an atmosphere. So, well, I'm being told that it's time to shut down our Campfire Talk segment, Larry. Thank you for being with us, and I'll get to visit with you here in about a week, next weekend,
We're getting very close and look forward to seeing everybody else there around a real campfire this time.
You betcha. Folks, I want to introduce you to Vineyard Max. Now, this is an awesome deer attractant, a food attractant that's made with hammer-milled grape skin, dried hammer-milled grape skins. It has a mixture of rice bran and also corn chops. Very effective. Deer can smell the scent of grapes from a long way, and it brings them in. I've used it in West Texas out with Larry Weushuhn and We were out there where deer are not even exposed to grapes, and they came right in. Also, Vineyard Max has a very good line of game and fish feeders. Check them out online, vineyardmax.net. Folks, this segment is made possible by Ultramatic Feeders. Go online to ultramaticfeeders.com and check out the most awesome line of game feeders in the world. I've been using these things for 15 years, and I've got one that's been in the woods about 10 or 11 years. I forget exactly how long. Check them out, ultramaticfeeders.com. Friends, I want to tell you about an awesome camping destination, Wind Point Park on Lake Tawakoni. It's over on the far east side, kind of the northeast side of the lake. It's a pristine park. You can go there and view, I think they estimated a couple of hundred deer on that couple of hundred acres there. Cabins, beautiful RV park, fishing piers, docks. It's got everything you'd want in an outdoor destination. Check them out online at windpointparktx.com. Folks, this segment is made possible by Smoking Tex electric smokers that I've been using a long, long time, Catfish Pro, catfishing baits and catfish supplies, Ultramatic Feeders, and AGM Global Vision, maker of the spotters and thermal scopes that I hunt with. Well, friends, if you read my newspaper columns and follow along on the radio shows and the little TV show that we do with Larry Weushuhn, you probably know old Luke likes to shoot a lot of different sporting arms, let's call it. But I never will forget when I first learned about muzzleloaders, probably, 35 years ago. I always find time to break out my smoke pole and hunt. Mr. Dave Ehrig is with Muzzelblast magazine. He's actually the editor of Muzzelblast magazine, which is the magazine of the National Muzzleloading Rifle Association. So Dave is going to visit with us, and we're going to talk about muzzleloaders. Dave, thank you, buddy, for being with us.
Always a pleasure, and I love reaching out to your audience down there in Texas. I love Texas.
We've got to get you down here and bring you one of those old antique relic flintlocks or whatever you want to use, or a modern day inline, and get you on some of these hogs. We've got a multitude of wild hogs down here. Love to get you down. The National Muzzleloading Rifle Association has been around a long, long time, hasn't it, Dave?
If you're a football fan, since the Eagles won the Super Bowl, I have to throw a plug for them. That was 1933 that the Eagles got established, and guess what? So did the National Muzzleloading Rifle Association. And the big question that your readers or listeners are probably thinking is, why? Why 1933? Well, we got to go back a little bit before that. After the Civil War, there was a major evolution taking place away from gunpowder. That's the stuff we today call black powder. And we had breech loading rifles coming out in great popularity, lever actions, pump actions, and just kind of speeding things up. Black powder and muzzle loaders that had to be loaded one component at a time from the top of the gun and then ramrodded all home. And it takes a lot of thought and a lot of time. So people just wanted faster. Well, the faster got old real fast when it came to World War I, because they were still using bolt action rifles. And they came home from the war, and they still wanted to have their war buddies that they went overseas with and do some shooting and hunting. And they started breaking out the old guns, the one that Grandpop left behind. That was the muzzleloader. Whether it was flintlock, percussion, doesn't matter. It made a lot of smoke. And suddenly this interest grew into small state and small county and small town Sunday afternoon shoots. And it didn't take long before word got out how much fun it was. And overnight, these little bitty shoots everywhere across the nation coalesced into a national organization up in the state of Indiana. Little town called Friendship. And it was way out in the country in the hills of southern Indiana. And people flock there, not by the tens or hundreds, but by the thousands. And it's still going strong today. Now, when you have that many people all talking to each other and wanting to learn about everything, it takes some kind of a written document. And that's how Muzzelblast magazine came to life. It was a reaction to the membership to have a voice that reached all across the country. So from 1933 forward, it grew from basically just a newsletter into a tabloid into today an 82-page full-color national magazine from North America. And I'm very proud to be the editor of that. And we have some really good people like yourself writing for Muzzelblast magazine.
Oh, it is an excellent magazine, Dave, and I honestly feel honored to occasionally do an article or three a year for you. You know, people have asked me in the past, what was the allure of muzzle loading, and this was years back, and I told them, I said, you know, the truth is, I've shot centerfire rifles. I still do. I hunt with a bow. I hunt with big bore air guns some. But what's the allure of the muzzle loader? And I would tell them, when I started, I knew absolutely nothing about. I knew the word black powder, I knew musket, I knew muzzle loader. I knew the rudiments, but I knew nothing about really loading a muzzle loader. So it was totally new to me. And then the idea of actually building that round in the barrel, you know, and experimenting with 70. I used to shoot 70 grains a whole lot in those Hawking type guns, you know, and I know nowadays a lot of people that would be a very light load for a lot of the inline guns, but I remember would 75 grains of loose powder, would I get a better grip? Just experimenting and learning. I think that's what really got me interested. And then when I learned that, hey, these things, if you spend your time to learn a little bit about them and shoot them, they're quite capable of taking the animals that I hunt with no problem. And Dave, you've had a chance to hunt a lot of big game with them. I know caribou you were telling me about, that was like a record at the time, I believe.
Yes,
Yeah.
We're talking about the early days of the Long Hunter Society. That kind of came about thanks to money from Thompson Center Corporation in Rochester, New Hampshire. They gave us the seed money that we needed at Muzzelblast magazine to put out a supplement in the center of the mag and give people who hunt some notoriety. We borrowed from the Boone and Crockett scoring system with their good gracious to say, just go for it, guys. We kept the scores for the trophy animals lower than what Boone and Crockett has as the minimum. But we're right there, just a little bit more difficult than what the archers are dealing with.
True.
The question always raises amongst non-muzzleloader culture people, and by that I mean somebody who's never done a rendezvous or never been to a black powder frolic or never done trekking with a muzzleloader. What is it that you guys do that's so cool? And my answer always is, it's something that's very visceral. In other words, you internalize a lot of things. First of all, the white smoke. There's no other firearm that makes white smoke better than a muzzleloader with black powder in it.
That's
and
true.
Then as soon as that white cone of smoke goes forward, suddenly this sulfur drifts back into your nostrils. And suddenly it's like, oh, wow, this is so cool. And it is cool because it's a fun sport. And the people that you meet doing it love their sport and have so much fun doing it. From the time of building, as you called it, that special load inside the bore of the rifle,
Mm-hmm.
to their curiosity and, gee, I wonder if I could build one of these.
Mm-hmm.
And today, when I talk about the muzzleloading culture, I'm talking about so much more than just pouring black powder down the barrel. It's everything that is necessary to make art, craft, and gun building fun again. And we do that. We have in the United States more than 100,000 muzzleloaders going out there with their gun to either shoot, plank, or hunt. Of that 100,000, we have about 20,000 of them in the NMLRA, the National Muzzleloading Rifle Association, and they're competing. But they're also building fires with flint and steel. They're also making primitive shelters. Everybody's familiar with the teepee. Go back in history a little further to George Washington, and now you got a marquee tent, which got reduced in size for the foot soldier down to nothing more than just a tarp that's thrown over a tree that bent over, and that's your shelter for the night. The food is different. It's cooked in Dutch ovens and over an open fire. The way we dress is different. If you're primitive, you're out there in leathers, either of the elk you shot or maybe the white-tailed deer or the mule deer. If you're sleeping inside, you're thrown together shelter. We have buffalo hides with hair on. Warmest thing you could ever sleep in, and I heartily recommend that to your listeners right now. You got to try buffalo. Anyway,
yeah.
The meat's good too.
You darn right
so
it is. Yep.
This culture basically has come alive because of people in every state of the union, and guess what? It's even international. We have a lot of members in Germany, in Australia, in New Zealand, in France, in England, in Canada, in Mexico, and I could go on and on. But it's a universal desire to repeat the past so that they can have fun in the future.
You know, Dave, there's also, I'm sure, a large percentage of muzzleloader shooters that that's one aspect, but, you know, that hunt with maybe an inline, or it doesn't really matter. They could use a flintlock or whatever, or a Hawken type gun. But there's also a lot that maybe they don't do the dress and all that, but just enjoy hunting with them, right? I mean, just
oh, absolutely.
You know, just normal. Well, kind of like me, actually. You know, to just enjoy a different. Well, one thing, you get to partake of a little bit different season. In Texas, we have a special season, and I did take a down here the term is management buck. For about half of my life, it would have been, wow, look at this, I killed it was a mature buck, but I shot that with actually with CVA with the 50 caliber there.
Yeah, the Optima.
Optima, yeah, I shot that, and yep. You're right. The guy was filming it, Jeff Rice, my good buddy. He was filming, and boom, and guess what? You don't see what happened on the video till the wind blows that smoke away. But yeah, there's just so many aspects of muzzleloading that I enjoy. And one thing that folks that I talked to Dave about is for his magazine, Texas, where I live, is like hog central. I killed a hog last night about a half a mile from my house, but there's so many hogs. But it's a draw. And you know, Dave, muzzleloading shooters from all over come down in the winter. We say that's an unofficial hog season at the close of deer season, but people are coming down summer vacations and staying places and hunting hogs now. So I'm going to do an article, and I'm going to put some thought into it to try to, you know, introduce people that might want to come to Texas, but give them some real nuts and bolts stuff to work with. I do believe that would be an interesting thing and maybe helpful to some people, you know?
Yes, absolutely. And it would attract a lot of attention because up here in Pennsylvania, where I live, we're all about whitetail hunting.
Yep.
But when you say pigs, then a lot of the people from Pennsylvania head south.
Yeah.
And, you know, they go everywhere south, North Carolina, South Carolina,
Yep.
Florida, Georgia, Alabama, all the way over to Texas and round back up.
Uh-huh.
Hogs are a big deal in the United States.
They are.
They once were restricted to small areas, but now they're everywhere.
They are, and they're an economical animal to hunt. I grew up on a farm, a poultry farm, of course, but we had hogs, and one thing that has really tricked me up is the fact that so hogs have always had a value. We raised them my dad would sell a few and then butcher 3 or 4 too, but and then when the woods are full of them, and they are, I'm not saying you don't need a few pointers to get you in the right direction to hunt hogs. There's a few tricks, but they're very plentiful and they're economical. So even to this day, I kill hogs one at a time. You won't see old Luke out running hogs in a big field trying to stack them up in a trailer. Although a lot of that's eradication. That's different than hunting. The way I look at it. But take a muzzle loader and get after them. So much fun, Dave.
Yeah, and if I may, Luke, I'd like to give folks a website that they could jot down. And get more information out of us.
Sure.
You can contact the NMLRA at NMLRA, which stands for National Muzzleloading Rifle Association, at nmlra.org. Or if you prefer to get a phone number there, it's 812-432-2670. Plus, we have a website, and the website for the organization is at www.nmlra.org. So there's 3 ways that they can get in touch with us. They can find out about who we are, where we are. Our charter clubs are in every state of the union. Texas is the big state with a lot of charter clubs down there. And what that simply means is it has an association with the national, and they can get free stuff from us and experienced people if they need it to do specialized types of shooting. We also certify range officers, so it's a safe sport to shoot.
It is. Well, hopefully we have sparked, pardon the pun, hopefully we've sparked a few more people into the ranks of muzzleloader. Dave, thank you a lot, buddy, for being with us, and I'll get you back from time to time. We just scratched the surface here, but I'll get you back and we'll visit again soon. How about that?
That'd be great.
Folks, let's talk a little outdoor cooking. Let me tell you about an electric smoker that I've been using for 15 years, I guess. Smoking Tex electric smokers. If you're tired of staying up all night keeping that wood fire burning when you're barbecuing, give Smoking Tex a try. They're made to last a lifetime. You can check them out at smokingtex.com. That's SMOKINTEX.com. Well, friends, Mr. Larry Weushuhn is going to tell you about the finest hunting optics that we have ever found.
Look, these are called Stealth Vision. They come from Crockett, Texas. Dr. John McCall developed them. They're 34-millimeter tubes as opposed to the narrower tubes, so more light transmission. They have a little green light that comes on. That scope is leveled because that's when you want to pull the trigger. They have an optional lighted reticle as well, too, and a whole lot of other products, and folks can learn more about them by going to stealthvision.com.
And for seasonings, anything to do with outdoor cooking, all kind of jerky seasonings, sausage seasonings, Butcher Packer Supply. That's butcherpackersupply.com. I think the website is butcher-packer.com. Friends, this segment is made possible by Platinum Cadillac and Chevrolet in Terrell, Texas. Stop by and visit with my buddy, Mr. Justin Rudd, and his team of experts, and let them put you in a new Chevy pickup or a Cadillac or whatever you might be in the market for. Also, the Choctaw Hunting Lodge up in southeast Oklahoma. Check them out at ChoctawHuntingLodge.com. Also made possible by Pyramid Air, your one-stop shop for everything airgun related. Well, friends, our next guest is Mr. James Carr. Now, James is over the outdoor ministry at the Top Rail Cowboy Church in Greenville. That is where we're going to have our 6th annual, they call it the Luke Clayton's Outdoor Rendezvous. I did get it started 6 years ago, but it's not about Luke Clayton. I'm there to have fun and meet a lot of folks, but there's a whole lot going on this year, and Mr. James Carr is with us, and he's going to kind of shed some light on this event that will be March the 1st at the top Rail Cowboy Church in Greenville. James, thanks for listening to my lengthy intro, buddy.
Yes, sir. How you doing this morning?
I'm good, and I appreciate all the effort that you've put into this spring outdoor rendezvous. It's on 12 acres, and I think this is the third, I believe, that we've had this there at the Top Rail Cowboy Church. Little history on it. 6 years ago, we kicked it off there, and Randy Kuhn down in downtown Greenville had about 4 acres, and Randy at the time had that wooded acreage, and we had it there and started off, and then my friend and your friend, Pastor Charlie Nasser, said, Luke, you're welcome to come out here, and so we've been there ever since, and I don't have any intentions of going anywhere else. It's a great venue for an outdoor event, isn't it?
We got plenty of room out there and a great place to do it at.
It is. Well, tell us, we know that this year, one thing that's a little different, there's a chili cook-off, right?
Yes, sir. We're going to try to do a little chili cook-off, just have a little fun and have some chili to eat. We're going to have all kinds of stuff going on out there. We got a bunch of different vendors coming. We got buckles coming for the first place chili cook-off. Trophies for the second and third place, what we're going to do.
Oh, good.
And I think it's going to be a pretty good turnout this year. We got a lot of vendors that are signing up and ready to roll.
That's right. Folks, there are vendors, and don't think of this as like an indoor event where there's a 20 by 20 marked off spot. A vendor space can be as simple as pulling your pickup up and putting out a sign, and if you're a hunting or fishing outfitter, you can market your wares or whatever else. You could be selling pottery for that. We
got people coming out selling Cincy's. We got people coming out selling car freshies. We got right now we got Sunbelt Rentals going to be out there showing off some of their equipment. We got a couple of places coming out that's got they're going to bring their lawnmowers and lawnmower dealers and setting up and stuff like that. We got quite a few different options coming. We got stuff for the women, we got stuff for the men, and we're going to have stuff for the kids.
That's good. And a lot of people ask me through the course of a year, James, well, what's it like? Well, here's what you can expect. I always have a campfire, and we're going to have a big fish fry. We've got a ton of catfish fillets, and there's no charge for this. And it's not, it's just what I like to do. And I always have some cooking some stuff on a campfire there, and people come by. And Larry Weushuhn, Mr. Whitetail, has been with us every year except that very first one. A lot of people know Larry. He's a famous hunter, but Larry and I and another guy, Jeff Rice, do a weekly, James, we do the Sportsman's Life, which is a weekly TV show on Carbon TV. Well, Jeff will be out there filming to do a show on this event. So that's something that we all look forward to. And just come around, and as far as I'm concerned, come around my campfire. The Chuck Wagon group is right there. Those guys, the Chuck Wagon Ministry there, they're cooking.
Yes, sir,
I guess. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yeah, Scotty, he's over the Chuck Wagon now up here. He does a wonderful job, and we're going to be set the Chuck Wagon up, and they're going to be cooking, I think, beans and stuff like that also, or something. The beans or chili, I can't remember what they're going to. I know they're talking about getting into chili cook-off also. So
Yeah. Well,
and everything.
Mm-hmm. And there's music, live music, the band's playing out there, and it's
great
just
worship.
Yes, sir. And really, James, to me, I look at it like a reunion. Lots and lots of people come by that I've been writing the newspaper columns for not only the Greenville Herald Banner, but it's in 40 other newspapers, and people. It really is. It's a blessing to me. I'll be there and somebody will walk up and say, Luke, I've been reading that outdoor column for how long you been writing it? Well, I've been writing it 40 years. And they'll say, I remember reading that back, whatever. But it's a good way just to come and visit. And you find that Chuck Wagon, you'll find me, and I bet you'll be close to some food. Just come on by and don't be shy. If you see something in the pot that you want, just say, hey, Like to have a bowl of that. But yeah, quite a few vendors so far this year, I guess.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I've been putting the word out. I got flyers. We've printed off almost a little over 100 and something flyers, and we've passed out. So we've had a lot of good people come feedback and everything on it, ready to go. And so I think I think it's maybe one of the biggest turnouts yet.
Well, I bet it will be. It seems to grow a little bit each year, James. And folks, after this airs on all of our great radio stations, it becomes a podcast. And James, a lot of people will be listening to this everywhere on iHeartRadio and all that. So Greenville, Texas is about an hour east of Dallas, and the church is right off of Interstate 30. That's where we're at in Hunt County. So if you're up, a lot of people will come that are not local, and that's where we're located. If you're up in North Texas, come by. One way to learn more about it, and if you want to set up a booth, you can call James or me, but ultimately it needs to go through James's operation down there. Catfishradio.org is my radio website, and I have the flyer posted right there. And then, James, your number is right there if they want to call. And
yes, sir. Mine and Marshall Jarvis. Marshall Jarvis has also helped me out. He's our band. He's in our band up there at top Rail Cowboy Church. He plays the bass for us.
Yep.
And me and him, Brother Charlie asked us if we'd take it over, and we was more than happy to.
Well, I appreciate it too.
And the address is 262 Horseman's Road in Greenville, Texas.
That's
Everybody
right.
needs to know that.
That's right, and they can basically just. I'll tell you how I get there. Yeah, I've learned to get there. Just Google Top Rail Cowboy Church Greenville, and it'll send you right to it.
It'll take you right to it every time.
Yes, sir. Well, this is really good. I appreciate you being with us and talking about what's coming up. I've been mentioning it on our radio shows for the past couple of months every week, and I think you've got some calls. Maybe people that hadn't been involved with it in the past. It's called up and said, "Yeah."
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I got people calling just about every day talking about it and everything else we got going on. It's a wonderful place. And that's it. Luke, you just come up there and you just help us bring people in and show them what the Lord's about. And that's what it's all about, mainly, is the Lord, That's what we're about.
Yes, sir.
That's what Top Rail's about, the Lord up there.
Tell me, you have a predator hunt coming up soon, don't you? I don't know a lot about that. Yeah?
Yes, sir. I got the second annual Don Wise Memorial up there coming up March 1st. If anybody don't know who Don Wise was, he was over our sound director team, and we lost him and everything, and he was just an inspiration to everyone. He wasn't, like I told my hunters last year, he wasn't much of a animal hunter, but he was a hunter for Christ. And so it just kind of come to me. My name is the Don Wise Memorial Predator Hunt, and registration starts Friday night, February 28th, 5 to 8 p.m., and the hunt starts at 2 o'clock March 1st, Saturday, March 1st. And we're ready to roll with that. And then we're going to do our first youth predator hunt this year. It's going to be March 22nd. So we're looking forward to that this year.
You bet. Well, that's a lot of good stuff. And my hat's off to you, James, for the outdoors is just, to me, it's always been a lifestyle. It obviously, I mean, that's.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I've built a career around it, and I would have done it had I not become an old outdoor rider and involved in the stuff that I am involved in. I'd still been out hunting and fishing. I was doing that when I was young before I got into all this, but thank you for doing that. I think more organizations ought to get involved, and really, when I was growing up in Red River County as a boy, I was raised up on a farm up there, a poultry farm. Actually, my dad raised broiler chickens, thousands of them, and it was a way of life, fishing and hunting. That's basically what I did,
Yes, sir.
But
that's
now,
the way I was raised.
Yes, yeah, but nowadays, a lot of young people are just they're not exposed to it. So thank you for doing what you do. I understand how important it is, James. So keep it up.
Yes,
keep
sir.
up.
Just trying to show these youth, get these youth out and get them out in the world and show them what the Lord has planned for them, what the Lord has built.
Exactly.
And get them out in the world and show them.
Exactly. Well, we are about out of time, but March the 1st?
Yes, sir. March 1st, 9 o'clock, 9 a.m.
Yep.
When we're going to try to kick everything off with the Luke Clayton Rendezvous.
Yeah.
We'll be there. We'll be there earlier that morning, so if y'all want to come on up and get set up, and you're more than welcome, but we're going to open the gates at 9 o'clock and let everybody roll in.
All right, James. Looking forward to it, buddy, and thank you so
yes,
much
sir.
for
Thank
being
you, Luke.
For about the past decade, I've been hunting editor for Airgun Hobbyist magazine. I think the only magazine devoted strictly to airgun shooting and hunting in the country. Well, in that length of time, I've learned quite a bit about big bore air guns and smaller calibers, too. A spot to go to that if you're interested in air guns, you need to know about Pyramid Air. The website is PYRAMYD, pyramidair.com. They have anything and everything you need, from the guns themselves, the big bores or the smaller calibers, to the accessories. Just remember pyramidair.com, and there's a number when you get on the website if you need to call and talk to somebody. Give them a buzz, and they can fill you in on little details that you might need to know about shooting or hunting with big bore air guns. While you're on the website there, I'd like you to check out the big bore air gun that I've done a great deal of hunting with. It's the Seneca Dragon Claw, 50 caliber, pressures up to 3,000 psi, and it looks like a conventional rifle. Wooden stock. I think you'll like the appearance, and I know you'll like the performance. It shoots not only bullets, but also air bolts as well, tipped with a broadhead. Check it out. It's the Seneca Dragon Claw.
The snowflakes fall as winter comes, and time just seems to fly.
Friends, this segment is brought to us by CVA Muzzleloaders. In my opinion, the very best muzzleloaders in the world, the ones that I shoot. You can check them out online, CVA.com. AGM Global Vision, maker of the Rattler and the Adder that I use. You can check them out online too, agmglobalvision.com. Kubi's Wild Game Processing and Kubi's Restaurant in Dallas. And Vineyard Max, maker of some awesome deer attractant and some very fine game feeders and fish feeders, located down in Nacogdoches, Texas. Check them out at vineyardmax.net. Well, friends, it is your old buddy Luke Clayton, and we have a little time left in today's show, and I thought I would touch on a subject that may help some of you. I know there's probably some of you that are interested in big bore air guns, shooting them for fun and hunting with them. For the past, about 11 years, I've been hunting editor for the only air gun magazine that I'm aware of. It's called Airgun Hobbyist. Now, where I'm definitely not an air gun mechanic, anything like that, but through the years, I've had a chance to shoot all kinds of different air guns. They're called PCP air guns, the ones that we're going to talk about, and they pressure up to pressures of from 3,000 to over 4,000 psi. That's a lot of pressure. Thus, it will send that projectile down the barrel pretty fast. So, if you've been on the line and you still think of air guns as the old Daisy BB gun, or maybe an old Crossman or Sheridan pump up from yesteryear. I had those when I was a kid. Those were fun and still fun to shoot. But we're going to talk about air guns big enough to hunt a deer or a hog with. And we're going to talk about a PCP air gun. So you're not going to find these at the package store. I honestly don't know of any package store where you can, off the shelf, buy a quality PCP air gun. Now, these, like I say, these are ones that pressure up with an air tank or a compressor. So, you're gonna need some basic information. You're gonna need to know where to find these things too. The biggest air gun supply company that I know about is called Pyramid Air. You can go online to Pyramid Air, PYRAMYD, pyramidair.com, and it's a one-stop shop. There's all kind of compressors, air tanks, all kind of different rifles, air rifles. But let's talk about getting started. Okay, now we all have our favorite everything. You know, if you're a fisherman, you got a favorite reel. But my favorite rifle, air rifle, big bore air rifle, is a 50 caliber Seneca Dragon Claw. I've loved these guns since I first shot one. They're not the most expensive, but I honestly think they're probably the best deal for the money, and they get the job done. They pressure up to 3,000 psi through a little portable compressor. That's what I use now. I don't even use an air tank. Or you can get it, pressure up an air tank and fill them with that, with a Foster valve. It's just a little quick coupler that clicks on that valve, and you put the pressure in. The Seneca Dragon Claw has 2 air chambers, 2 tanks. And they're shaped like a barrel. They're underneath the barrel that you shoot the bullet through. Now, the original Dragon Claw is a wooden stock. It looks like a conventional rifle. And I think that's one of the things I liked about it from the get-go years ago when I first started shooting it. But now they've improved the power on them. It's the Dragon Claw 2, which is an increased power that, get this, I use a 336 grain bullet a lot. I've killed hogs and deer with lesser weight bullets, but it will develop over 300 foot-pounds of energy, which is substantial. I hunt hogs near my house within half a mile a lot, and I'll put a AGM Global Vision, one of their basic Rattler scopes on this air gun, and I'm out there stalking hogs. I get downwind of them, sneak up in there within 40 yards and shoot them in the right place, which is right behind the jaw, and they don't run with this with a 336 grain bullet. So are they big bore air guns enough to hunt deer and hogs with? The answer is yes. Now, the Dragon Claw is not the most powerful air gun out there. It's plenty powerful for hunting. If you keep your ranges within acceptable, say 50 yards, I wouldn't shoot a hog or a deer past 50. I've got no problem shooting one at 50. But I'm an old bow hunter. I like to shoot them up close anyway. So, honestly, most of the hogs I shoot, I get in within 40 yards with this. It'll shoot about 3 or 4 times hard enough to kill a hog. That'll answer some questions, or a deer. But, the thing is, if you're out on a hunt, you're going to shoot once, maybe twice, and then it has a little gauge on it to tell you when you need to recharge it, when you need to repressure it. So you can always keep tabs on how much pressure you have by looking at the gauge. So once you decide which type of big bore air rifle you're going to get, you're going to need some way to pressure it up. That will be either a portable compressor, which are now readily available and they're economically priced, or an air tank. If you get an air tank, somebody's still got to have a compressor to fill it. So I really think nowadays, with the price and the quality of these portable air compressors, a few $100 and you've got one, you don't have to worry about it. Take it with you. Most of them will run off of a battery, AC or DC. Take it with you on a hunt, charge your rifle up before you leave, and chances are, with a Dragon Claw, chances are on this hunt, you're probably not going to need to recharge it. But if you did, you'd have that little portable generator to plug into house current or to a car or truck battery. So an air tank or a compressor, I advise to get you a little compressor. Now, what type of big bore air gun? They make them that are strong, a lot of foot-pounds, maybe 500 foot-pounds for a couple of shots. If that's what you want, there's plenty of air guns out there that do that. But I just keep reverting back to the Seneca Dragon Claw because they cost, I don't know, $850, $900, something like that. They're not way expensive. They're more expensive than a basic centerfire, they are, but there's a whole lot more technology involved in these things. But you're going to need that, and you can get you some lead bullets. The 336 grain I shoot, I've killed hogs just as dead with a 210 grain chunk of lead shooting down that 50 caliber bore, barrel. Now I hunt with arrows with a compound bow, but the Seneca Dragonclaw also shoots air bolts, and a lot of people like that. And with the air bolt traveling down that barrel with a 3,000 psi pushing it, Cape buffalo have been killed with it. I mean, if you wanted to go after a moose or something, I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't be shooting the bullet. I'd be shooting that good broadhead on that air bolt through the Seneca. But that is an option if you have one. I just like to shoot bullets through mine. I'm an old rifle hunter anyway, but, for just not very much money, you can get all the bullets, the chunks of lead, let's call them. They're really not bullets. They're more like a muzzleloader piece of lead. And you can get a lot of those, get a lot of shooting out of that. And with the air compressor, you've got a ready supply of air wherever you go. So maybe that'll help you a little bit. Go to pyramidair.com and just peruse through the different air rifles, and know that old Luke favors the Seneca Dragonclaw too. Now the Seneca came out a few months ago with a tactical model, and I thought, I'm not going to like that. I like my traditional wooden stock Dragonclaw. Well, I've been using this tactical. It shoots just as hard. It's the same action and everything, except it's got an adjustable stock on it. It looks like an AR. It's not one, but it looks like one. Still shoots just like the traditional wooden stock one, but it's lighter, and I use it a lot for night hunting hogs. Spot the hogs through the thermal, get downwind with that little tactical Dragonclaw, and it's so much fun. Folks, I hope this helps you a little bit. If maybe you'd heard about hunting with big bore air guns, and it is legal in Texas now, and other states. Most states now have made it legal. So maybe this will help you. One thing you've got to know is a place to look through and find these PCP guns, and pyramidair.com is where you can go and learn all about them. Folks, I hope you have enjoyed our show today. I've had a ball visiting with all our guests. Next week we're going to be at the Rail Cowboy Church in Greenville, Texas, for the 6th annual, they call it Luke Clayton's Outdoor Rendezvous. I did help get it started years ago, but it's not about Luke. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hope to see you there. Folks, that about wraps our show up for this week. I've enjoyed being with you, and I hope you've had a good time, too. And, folks, we're also brought to you by the Choctaw Hunting Lodge up in southeast Oklahoma, located about, 45 minutes west of Hugo, Oklahoma, owned by the Choctaw Nation. It's about 45,000 acres of awesome mountain, country, hills, valleys, loaded with game. Lots of eastern turkey, and they do eastern turkey hunts if you're looking for a spot to hunt turkey in the spring. Also, I want to remind you about the Seneca 50 caliber Dragonclaw that shoots bullets and pellets. And by pellets, I'm talking about 200 and 210 grain lead, chunks of lead. It's a big bore air gun that I use. Check out the Seneca Dragonclaw there at pyramidair.com.